Hello world and welcome to Elevated Intuition. Today we are doing a pick a card reading for your next week. So the next 5 to 7 days, whenever you discover this reading, that is the energy that it is good for. And a pick a card reading is you get to use your intuition to pick the number, the card, or if you like objects, I'll be placing objects here in a moment, that use your intuition to pick what is right for you, what resonates for you, and then I use my intuition to then read those cards for you. So I'll be placing objects here in a moment, but if you will take also a moment to hit the like button. I'm not asking you to subscribe. If you want to, that's great, but if you hit like, I would be eternally grateful and appreciate it. Thank you. So for group number 1, I have this fox. It's going to be group number 1. For group number 2, you are the squirrel. And for group number 3, I have the owl. So take a moment and decide what resonates for you. If you need to take a couple of deep breaths, you can deep breath with me, do some breathing with me. So go ahead and close your eyes and take a deep breath in and release. We're going to set the intention that you're going to hear messages that you need to hear right now. Take another deep breath in and release. Release out any negative energy and just be here in the moment. Go ahead and open your eyes, and wherever your eyes are drawn, that is the card for you, or the pile for you. All right, so I have the timestamps down below, and I will meet you at your reading. Thank you. Hello, group 1. If you picked this cute little fox, you were in the right place. I'm just going to put that up here, and we're going to take a look at our first card for the overall energy of next week. And take a look at these cards. I love them because they're very abstract. What is it that you see in this image? And the author of this deck is calling this 60 limits. So 60 is the number of the card number, so 60 might be meaningful to you, but limits. So it's really interesting because I think a lot of times when we talk about tarot or we talk about anything spiritual, we talk about ourselves being limitless beings, right? So it's weird when we put limits on ourselves, right? And a lot of times we talk about breaking down our limits that we put on ourselves. And that is part of this card as well. But to me, I think limits are nice because then you know the framework in which you're working in. For instance, if you are looking for a home or a job, you're going to look within a certain parameter. You're going to, with a home, you're going to look, you probably have an idea of what kind of neighborhoods you want to live in, and what kind of price range you want. Within a job, you want to narrow that down to something that you enjoy doing, a skill set that you have, and the type of compensation that you want for that job. So once you narrow certain things down, it actually makes it easier for you to find what you're looking for. Being limitless, of course, you know, it's a lovely thought, especially, you know, in your career, that you're limitless, that you can go and do and be anything that you want to be. But within that thought, you need to then limit it down to what makes sense for you. It's very individualistic. And I think the limits that we talk about are limits that either we put on ourselves before and we've outgrown. For instance, maybe you've always thought of yourself as a teacher, for instance, and you went to school for that, and now you've been working for a long time and it doesn't fit anymore. It doesn't feel right anymore. You got to test that boundary, break it down, and set a different parameter for yourself. There's also limits that we need to break down within society. There's a lot of times, because of who you are, where you're from, who your parents are, things that aren't even within our control, you might have a preconceived limit set on you by society, of what you can accomplish or what you can do. Sometimes recognizing those limits are really great, because it is, as long as you approach it as a challenge, people look at me and they think a certain thing about me, and I do take that as a challenge to surprise people. So as long as you understand where that invisible boundary is, and you are the one in control of those limits, you can use them to your advantage. And now let's get some more cards out. We've got 5 of Wands, we've got 6 of Cups. Okay, that's too many. Just 2 more cards. Oh, Ace of Cups comes out very quickly, very nice. And then 4 of Pentacles reversed. Very nice. So within the scope of limits and the scope of next week, for instance, I like to bring out a card here in the beginning so I kind of have an idea of the energy, and then we can look at like the tarot cards through that lens. So that's an example of using limits in a specific way. If I'm talking about limits from my past, because the 6 of Cups talks about our past, the 6 of Cups talks about nostalgia. The 5 of Wands, 5s are kind of like reevaluating goals. You have come up across some sort of conflict, possibly some competition. So it seems like you do need to reevaluate your limits. You need to reevaluate, are you putting limits on yourself, or is somebody else doing that? And what does that mean for you? Again, you are the one who needs to, excuse me, sorry about that. You're the one who needs to take control of where the limits are. The 6 of Cups can talk about, we have one cup being given to another. It's usually nostalgia. And it can talk about like past memories, things that have happened in the past. Well, I like to think of it as kind of like this is usually like a much younger youthful figure, and an older person is handing them a cup. So they are growing up, and it's time for you to kind of like reevaluate maybe some of the things that you thought you would do or what you would be when you were a child. Some of this happens naturally. For instance, if you ask like a kindergartner what they want to be when they grow up, they're going to give you a very different answer when they are in high school. But if they've never thought about, there's just certain things that get defined for you that you never think about and you never challenge. A lot, maybe it is, sometimes it can be very cultural. Maybe there's a certain family business, your family has always been in this thing, and so then you never question it, you just always do it and go from there. But this looks like rethinking and new beginnings and moving on. Feels like, especially when we've got the 4 of Pentacles over here, that you've been sitting on something for a while. Maybe, I really got the idea that this might, excuse me, might be a job change or job opportunity. To begin with, when I got limits, and even that first example when I was talking about, you're setting your parameters of what you're looking for and kind of narrowing it down to what makes sense for you. But this is going to be something new that you've never looked at before, and you're making the change because it feels good. Maybe it is revisiting a childhood dream, though, that made you feel good, because we've got the 6 of Cups upright. 5 of Wands, I said that there might be a conflict. It can also be competition. Competition is good because it helps you kind of push past limits sometimes. I always felt like it really helps you develop too. I think that's why, there's a lot of youth sports. There's a lot of competition, even within people on your same team. It's pushing you further. Sometimes it doesn't feel good. Sometimes it feels really, I'm searching for a word here, uncomfortable. And it kind of reminds me of when I was in college, how the professors used to say there, if you aren't uncomfortable, you aren't learning. So it's almost, instead of the discomfort that you come across, you need to ask yourself why it feels uncomfortable. Is it uncomfortable because you're pushing past it and you're going to feel good once you push past it? Or is it uncomfortable because you're hitting a limit, you're hitting a boundary, and you need to go a different direction, that maybe you feel like you're in a dead end position right now? How you answer what I've just asked you is going to guide you then over here. But asking these questions and being honest with yourself about where you want to go and what you want to do is really, really important. And it's going to get you, because like the Ace of Cups, new beginning, it feels really good. Like this new beginning feels good. And then when we've got the Four of Pentacles, Pentacles are about monetary gains. They're about material things. And you're like, okay, but that card's reversed. Yeah, that's actually good in this case, the Four of Pentacles, because you can see here this king, he's just holding on to his pentacles. He's not letting them go. When we have the Four of Pentacles, and it's a very stagnant and stuck energy. When we've got the Four of Pentacles reversed, it's a lot of flow, a lot of in the flow. If you've heard of in the flow, yeah, after this conflict, after this rethinking, after this period of discomfort, it really feels like things are flowing for you. The only requirement for you is that you are honest with yourself about what you want to do. So lots of really good energy for you. Coming into the week, it may not feel that way. You might be feeling like, again, nostalgic, and you might be feeling a little uncomfortable, but it's time to question that, that comfort and what it means. Okay, pull two cards here. And we have the be bold and make the first move. And then your commitment is being tested. I almost feel like these should be the other way around, just because your commitment is being tested, I think is very much involved here in the Five of Wands. When I was talking about competition, when I was talking about, pushing through, being a little bit uncomfortable, and questioning that. Is this really the direction that you want to go in? And, just because you have the Ace of Cups over here doesn't mean that it's a new direction for you. It just means that it could mean that you're reaching a new level, a new understanding, a new appreciation of it. A lot of times we get so involved in something and our day-to-day and, the routine of it, that it doesn't feel great anymore. It just feels like something we do every day, and it's not really a big deal. This is a conflict that makes you question what you're doing. Some of you are going to this is, have this recommitment to what you're doing and where you're going. Some of you might make a new change. Either way, the answer to these questions I've been asking you is going to guide you into this. But it is time to either double down and, push through this discomfort, or decide that you need to do this new direction. Whichever, things can't go on the way they are. And what I mean is, of course, you make a change. It's brand new, it's fresh, it's going to be good for you. But if you're continuing on this course, it's time to level up. It's time to either learn a new skill, go after that promotion. Maybe it is even taking this opportunity with a new employer, or doing it yourself. But there is some new, fresh energy for you this week, and it is like it's time to get moving. It's going to move. And then be bold and make the first move, cardinal moon. So first quarter moon, cardinal moon. I'm just looking at them because sometimes these cards have like time frames, but I really feel like this is all just going to be next week. And it is like, I feel kind of like this discomfort over here has felt limiting to you, limiting, and it's time to question that and how you break through it. And so it's about pushing through those limits, pushing through that boundary. And I almost feel like in here it's like this fresh energy just right here pushing through, or maybe you're coming through this way to this like freshness that's there for you. And it's either like a new understanding, a new grasp. It's definitely new within the scope of what you've been doing that has felt mundane, and you need to be bold and make that move. Also, when I'm talking about this in relation to your job, maybe it is something that you've been like putting in this extra work, and you've kind of been waiting for somebody to take notice. Approaching somebody and like communicating to them that, hey, have you noticed I've done this, and this? And it's funny because a lot of people may notice that, but not even really question it or ask why, or why you would be doing that. They just are like, oh, okay. Everybody is always so eager to give you like more work, but not necessarily more accolades or more money to do that. So you might need to say, hey, by the way, I think I would be great for this promotion. I've already taken on this, and this task, and I need to start being compensated for that. That bold move and pointing that out to other people of what you've been doing. Because everybody, it's not that your people around you don't, and this kind of relates to the Six of Cups as well, it is recognition and it's getting rewarded for what you're doing. But I feel like when the Five of Wands comes after that, like you're waiting to be recognized and it's not happening. You might have to like point out like, hey guys, I'm really great at what I do. By the way, I've done this, and this. And because everybody is really just focused on what they're doing too. You think that people are going to notice, and maybe they kind of do, but not really. You have to bring it to their attention. You have to bring it to their consciousness. And that's what I feel like this Be Bold is about. Like sometimes we have to toot our own horn. I know sometimes that feels uncomfortable, and that might be a lesson that you're learning from your quote unquote competition. Because if you're sitting there like, hey, why is my coworker getting all these accolades for something they're doing? I'm doing just as good, if not more. Well, they may be bringing it to somebody's attention. They may be like, hey, look what I did. Look what I did. Oh my gosh. If you've ever seen Mad TV and the look what I can do. Yeah. But I feel like you've got like a lot of, you just feel a little stuck and stagnant, and next week is time to get that moving, time to burst through. You might have some discomfort, but that's okay. That is part of the growth and learning process, and that is part of being bold. So love you so much, group one. Thank you for being here with me. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you in the next reading. Hello, group two. If you picked the squirrel, you are in the right place. Let's go ahead and look at this card for the overall energy of your next week. And it is the law of intention. So a lot of times I think we get stuck on the law of attraction, not necessarily stuck on it, but I feel like the law of intention needs some help too, needs our attention. The law of intention needs our attention. Law of attraction talks about manifesting and bringing things into our reality, whether that is your dream job, your dream life, your dream body, your dream relationship, your dream whatever. And where that starts off at is really I want to say the intention. The intention is kind of the first step of that, but really where it starts off at is your preference. And things can change along the way, of course, but we really want to take a moment and set an intention for how something is going to go, what you're going to do, that type of thing. It can be as small as setting the intention for your drive to work or for your shower. If you watch Gem Goddess, one of her videos, she was talking about how she sets the intention for her shower that it's going to be basically like taking a shower under a waterfall, something beautiful like that. But it is really easy to overlook, I think, setting an intention, but it is so, so powerful. So when you're going into this week, the first thing I invite you or challenge you to do is to think about how you intend this week to go. And if maybe you have a presentation, or you've got a phone interview or a job interview, or even if you're just driving to work, set the intention on how you want this week to go. With my kids, when I drop them off at school, I tell them to set the intention to have a great day, to learn things that they're interested in, and it, they tell me it works, so I believe them. But those are things that you can do to really hit that goal. If you're having a hard time with the law of attraction, or you don't feel like you're manifesting something, are you setting that intention? Another one that I do all the time that really makes a huge difference, and it's just a small thing really, but it's a big thing, is setting the intention before I go to sleep to have a restful night's sleep. And it is just, you wouldn't believe the difference that it makes when you set that intention, when you just sit with yourself for a moment, think about what your goal is, what your ideal out of this situation, whatever the situation is, and set the intention, set it to the highest intention. Even if it is, I intend to remember my dreams in the morning, something like that, okay? I'm shuffling here as I'm talking about our intentions. So whenever I do a reading, I set the intention that whatever is coming out in this reading are messages that you need to hear, and that is going to be productive for you and for me. So we're setting the intentions here. Nice. Very interesting when we've got the Devil reversed and then we've got the High Priestess here. I just want to take a look at these cards, especially in this deck, the imagery of it. A lot of times we think about the Devil, we think about the alternate card would be kind of the Lovers, because we've got the two people here. Usually they're like Adam and Eve. And even in this, it's kind of reflects that. It almost looks Adam and Eve-ish, that the Devil has a hold over them. And we've got even the snake here repeated there. As in he is manipulating them, that you're being manipulated. But the Devil came out in reverse. So, and I just want to show it to you in this context, because we do have kind of this like black and white duality kind of going on here with the High Priestess. The High Priestess is somebody who, she's very singular, so we don't have another person being manipulated with you. But this is somebody who is not, because I feel like the Devil is definitely external things, maybe materialism is coming to mind, especially when I'm talking about the law of attraction. And that's one of the things that is a criticism of the law of attraction, is very materialistic. But we live in a material world. So it's either that type of letting go of that preconceived notion that you're being materialistic when you're trying to take care of yourself, or that that notion of maybe something that you want really is completely materialistic, a Lamborghini, or I'm just pulling, like, your values are completely different from mine. So if I just throw that out there as something that is, a lot of people think that is materialistic. I do not. I don't have this negative connotation around materialism. So for me, when I'm looking at this and maybe I felt some sort of pressure that I posted something on social media and I got a new car and I'm really proud of it because I worked really hard. We've got the King of Cups here, somebody who is a master at what they do, and you work really hard and you get this negative connotation about this thing, whether it might be a material thing. I'm saying it's material because we have the devil, and it usually is an attachment to that or a negative thinking about that. It is really letting go of the negative thoughts attached to it. With the King of Cups and the High Priestess, I said something about like the High Priestess being singular, being her own person here, or we have two people here kind of attached to the devil because it's like Adam and Eve, usually on the card. But I feel like the King of Cups and also the High Priestess, like they don't care about what other people say about them, think about them. They know what they are doing. And especially, I love this imagery here with this King of Cups. He's got like this, what is that? A telescope? It's not a periscope, but it's like eye on the prize, right? He knows where he's going. The King of Cups is also somebody who they talk about being on his own island. There's that saying, no man is an island. Of course, we are all connected, of course. But the other thing is he's not letting other negative emotions, we've got the water here, affect him. He has his goal. He is setting his intention. He is doing his thing without worrying about the negative thoughts of other people. One thing that I really love to watch is documentaries about comedians. And a lot of comedians, their family don't understand what they are doing. And starting out as a comedian is really, really difficult. And of course, I don't think that their parents or their families want to see them struggle. And, at least the ones that they make documentaries about are actually very successful. So, but in the beginning, like everybody has struggle, and that kind of thing. And I feel like the King of Cups here is like, okay, yeah, we've got some waves going on. We've got some stuff going on around me, but I'm setting this intention for where I want to go. I know what I see. I know where I want to go. And I'm setting that forward. I'm putting that forward. I'm stepping forward. A journey of 1,000 steps, or a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step, right? But I feel like it may not be time to act. I'm just talking about this week. And the reason I say that is because we've got the Three of Wands reversed. The Three of Wands is a card of action. It's we have been planning over here. The Two of Wands talks about planning. And then the Three of Wands takes that action. So we're still in the intention phase. We're still on like the very beginning of this. And it is, I think, a lot of shaking, preconceived notions and really dipping into your own intuition and your own beliefs, your own values. And your values can be completely different from, even if you're married, your partner, or you have a partner. You don't have to be married, but I'm just talking about like your closest relationships. Just because you have a really super close relationship, it doesn't mean that your values always have to be the same. And a lot of times they are, but like you think about the values of your grandparents versus you, or your parents versus you have a lot of different values. A lot of that is a product of your time. You probably do things that your parents and your grandparents don't even understand, just because of the world that you live in is completely different from the world that they're from. And remember that when you have these judgment calls, because the world, and that happens a lot, I think, with social media, where we bump up against this, like the world that I look at, that I am actually in, that I can touch, taste, and feel, is a lot different than the electronic world. Like that is its own kind of world in and of itself. And you have to decide, I'm coming, social media or that kind of thing is coming up in this a lot, where you have to decide how much that you're going to let that affect you. The other thing that's interesting about that is people can, I mean, it's good in a way because people can kind of put that intention out there of the type of person that they want to be, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that is the reality. And the setting intention is one thing, but you have to take that action and put it forward. But I'm getting ahead of myself here a little bit because it's not quite, I mean, you'll know when that's ready, but you might not necessarily put that action forward next week. This is more of like a, hey, I need to sit here and contemplate, because both the High Priestess and the King of Cups are kind of like sitting here and contemplating the best course of action for you, and not worrying about these other attachments, not worrying about, you know, whether they're familial attachments or attachments of friends or just random people on the internet. Your opinion means more, your intuition means more about the direction of where you're going than some randos on the internet. So remember that. It's also really interesting. We've got boats here and we've got boats here. Three of Wands can be about, like, if you're planning a trip. Three of Wands upright would be a trip over water. They usually are like a trip overseas. It would indicate that. And if that's something that you're interested in, I don't think it's necessarily happening next week, but you might get the idea to do it next week. This next week is really a lot of planning, is what it looks like. Whoa. Okay. These are too many cards, but this one came out upright, so we'll take that. Walk through your fears. Full moon in Scorpio. Okay, I love that. And then we've got the answers you need are coming. Full moon in Gemini. So really interesting. First of all, we've got a new moon here, new moon card and a full moon card. And that is about manifesting. If you manifest with the moon cycles, if you pay attention to the moon cycles, a new moon means that there's no moon in the sky, and then it gets progressively bigger, bigger, bigger until we have a full moon. So the full moon in Gemini is going to be when is that? I forget. Gemini is coming up in June, but yeah, it will be in June. Sorry, because the new moons are the opposites of whatever the sign we're in. I had to mentally go through that. Astrology isn't my strongest suit here, but what I love about this is it is kind of like a graphic representation or representation through the moon cycle of manifesting, of setting an intention here. A lot of times it's really powerful to do that with the new moon. Just kind of like an idea or reminder, or maybe you feel like you're harnessing the moon. Also, the High Priestess is very much connected to the moon here. We have a moon here on her card. Moons represent your intuition, your individuality, your and emotions. And the King of Cups represents emotions as well. Scorpio is a water sign, so King of Cups, water sign. Very emotional, possibly next week, but emotional in a good way. Like follow your emotions in a positive way. Let them guide you how you feel, and the King of Cups is more of an observer of his emotions rather than letting them run wild. And I think a Scorpio sometimes can be accused of being very emotional and needs to be reminded of letting the emotions be your guide, but not having like a knee-jerk reaction to them. And I feel like you're ready for that. A knee-jerk reaction to your emotions, I think the devil would be upright here, because the emotions would be controlling you. And instead, when you're an observer of your emotions, you are controlling your emotions. Scorpio, So yeah, just work through your fears. And a good way to do that is, again, why do you feel fearful about something? Is it something that really does affect you? Is it something that somebody is using to manipulate you? That's why I love that this came out here, first of all, because the King of Cups is so connected to the water energy and to Scorpio, and also because the Devil reverse talks about not letting your fears have control. You are the one in control of them. Okay, so that's something to remember for next week. And then the answers you need are coming. A full moon in Gemini. Gemini is an air sign. Just looking at the other cards here, how that might relate to air, just throwing that out there. But Gemini is in charge of communication. So speaking, talking your way through it. If you're feeling manipulated, maybe you do need to cut off contact with that person, or maybe you need to let them know how you feel. It's really going to depend on your relationship with them and how that person will take it. Because sometimes you just need to show them rather than tell them. But I really feel like, especially when you put the law of intention out there, that trust in the universe, trust in your manifestations, trust that it is coming to you. And this card, this full moon in Gemini, is that it's coming. Now, I did say it's not necessarily time for this next week, right? It's not time to put it in motion, but I feel like when I love these moon cards because it gives us a great idea of timing. So whatever you put in motion after you think about this, and maybe at the end of the week, then you start taking steps towards it, I feel like it can start coming to fruition for you at the full moon in Gemini. So I think that is there for a couple of reasons. It's there to remind you to manifest it, that it is a cycle, that it does take a little bit of time. But really, if you're watching this as I am uploading this video from now until June, that's really not a lot of time. So especially when you're putting something out there that feels like really important. But definitely practice that law of intentions, because it starts making a big difference. Before you go, if you have a task that you really don't like doing, one for me is going to the grocery store. So if I mentally just stop for a moment and think about the grocery store, and I set the intention that, one, I'm going to find everything that I need, two, that I'm not going to forget things on my list, because I always do that too, and three, that it's going to be an enjoyable experience. It's amazing how, when I set that intention, how much better it is. So it's not just for next week, like setting the intention that things go well next week, but it is a law that I feel like you should be working with all the time, and try it out, try it on for size, it's super easy just to sit there right before you go to bed and put that intention out there that you're going to have a great night's sleep, or put that intention out there that you're going to wake up before the alarm. That happens too. I really don't use an alarm anymore, because I set that intention that we're gonna, and we have great mornings. It's crazy how easy it is, how well it works. So love you, group 2. Hope that you have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this reading, and I will see you in the next reading. Hello, group 3. If you picked this little owl, you are in the right spot, and let's see what came out for the energy of your next week. We have 62 stagnation. So in this deck, there are certain segments, and stagnation comes in the segment of limits and boundaries. And a lot of times we can set limits and boundaries that are healthy, and a lot of times limits and boundaries limit us. And I feel like stagnation is one of those that kind of limits us. If we know we're in a period of stagnation, sometimes we can appreciate it, because it is nice to take a moment. And I think that really the key is with these limits and boundaries is that we're the ones who are in control of it. That when we need a break, we take a break, and stagnation doesn't necessarily need to be negative. But if it is something where you are waiting, I'm hearing Tom Petty in my head, the waiting is the hardest part. It actually, and if it's waiting because of your own inaction, remember that, and you're concerned about it or worried about it, that it might be just more difficult for you to be waiting here rather than to take the action that you know you need to take. There is, I think her name is Mel Robbins. She has this 5-second rule. It's not when you drop a cookie on the floor. It's not that what you call the 5-second rule. But she talks about a really difficult time for her and her husband when they were, I think he owns restaurants. They had to make some business decisions and some tough business decisions. And it was basically, instead of being in this moment of paralyzation, when she made those decisions, even though they were difficult decisions, and she moved, that is when things started to really change for her. And the 5-second rule comes into play. And if you're, her analogy is like when, or at least the one that I heard was like you're in bed and you don't want to get out of bed. It's really nice in bed, but you know you've got so many things to do. And instead of getting out of bed and doing those things that you need to do, you're thinking, you're just still stuck there in bed, thinking about all the things that you need to do. And it's making it worse because you're now thinking about all the things that you don't want to do. And you're thinking about all the time that you're wasting. So it's one more thing like on top of all of this, right? But her solution to this, and it's her 5-second rule, is to count backwards, kind of like a countdown for a shuttle liftoff, basically, where you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you do it. And the reason that works is it kind of gets your brain out of like that cycle of I'm not doing something, I'm not doing something, I'm not doing something. And it interrupts that. And then and if you think of it as like a countdown to like a rocket ship taking off, it's a countdown to your day taking off. It's a countdown to you making this decision and moving forward. It's a countdown to get moving. So it looks like we need to start moving next week, group 3. Hopefully I give you some information to do that. So we've got strength in reverse. What else do we have? 10 of swords in reverse. This one was jumping. 2 of wands in reverse. And these kind of came out together, so I'm gonna pull them out over here. Okay, so with reversal cards, I kind of feel like it's telling me something, and I think it's the reason that these cards over here came out in reverse is that, well, especially the strength and especially the 2 of wands, does feel stuck, and even the 5 of pentacles. It kind of repeats this stuck energy. And I think a lot of times in the stuck energy, you kind of feel lonely. You kind of feel like you're the only one here. You're the only one feeling this. There could be some wounds that happened, maybe some gossip. That's what the 10 of swords is suggesting. And strength here and strength in reverse would be suggesting that, you feel weak. 2 of wands is, I'll show it to you upright, is a card of like, he's literally holding the world in his hand, right? Because we're making plans, we're setting forth, we're getting ready, we're actually feeling really good and moving forward in something. But again, it's reversed. So These cards here kind of just really relate back to this stagnation and kind of that feeling that I'm talking about. I feel like it is that countdown that I gave you, that 5-second rule. I feel like that is really important for you. It's time to move. It's time to get moving, because that's what Six of Swords says. If you see here, we're leaving all of this negative energy behind, and we're moving to a better place for us. Better place for us emotionally, and it's a better place for us logically. Swords is a card, or Swords is a suit. It's the air suit. It's a suit of logic. It's a suit of thought. But we have been letting our thoughts run wild. And this could be, we think people are talking bad about us, or we think this, or we think that. And a lot of times when you get overly complicated and let your thoughts run wild, a lot of times it can be kind of like maybe it isn't even really happening. Like, there really isn't gossip going around about you behind your back. You think all these people are talking about you, really are more concerned about themselves. They probably think everybody else is talking about them. So you think, your mind is one of those things that we really need to get a hold of. You really do. And that's what strength talks about too. It talks about getting getting a hold of those thoughts, reeling it back in, bringing things back into reality, getting out of a victim mentality. And the Six of Swords is like, yes, I'm going to take control of my thoughts, and thus take control of my emotions. Water here. And that is a really good thing. That's a really great thing for your next week to get a hold of and move forward. The Five of Pentacles talks about help being there for you. You can see these two people, they're out in the cold. And a lot of times the Five of Pentacles can be really kind of a victim mentality. That kind of is echoed here in these two cards when strength is reversed, and we've got the Ten of Swords. But Ten of Swords reversed tells me that, like, you're ready to let that go. We're ready to get rid of that. And when you are ready to shed that, whatever those negative thinking or feeling, or even the negative situation, it might even be like a physical material situation that you're in, that you really do need some help. When you do look up, you can find that help. Like, it is there for you. In the case of these two in the Five of Pentacles, they're literally out in the cold, but they're walking past a church. They're walking past a sanctuary that would open the doors for them. No questions asked. Strength kind of can be, and we have it in reverse, where you think that you are a strong person, and you are. And therefore you shouldn't need help. Well, that's ridiculous. I think that you are somebody who would gladly offer someone else help in this situation. So let someone else reciprocate for you. We live in a community. We live in a society. We are pack animals. We are in this all together. So don't forget that. You are not an island. You are not out here on your own. And you might say, well, of course I know that, because I've got all of these wound marks in my back. I know I'm not out here on my own, but there are people who have been in your situation and who really want to help you, or there's help out there for you. Two of Wands here. It just is, you're not really planning for anything because you're so stuck right here in this moment. But what this really is telling me is you can move past all of this. What you need to do is take control of your thoughts. Now, if you continually have negative thoughts running through your mind, I've been here, I've been there, done that. So I'm not telling you anything that I haven't been through and experienced myself. If you have a good friend that you can talk to help get rid of those thoughts, and then bring in some fresh energy. because that's what the Six of Swords is doing, is moving towards that fresh energy. Another way that you can get rid of thoughts, it's my preferred way, I like to journal. I like to write them down. I like to do it on a loose piece of paper though, because at the end, when I get it all out, when I get all of my emotions out, all of the things that I'm no longer going to let control me so that I can take control of this situation, I then burn it. I take it and get rid of it. So if you do that, I do it on the stove. I have like a glass bowl that I use that I put on the stove and put it in there, so on my stovetop. So don't start any fires, but definitely let that go. And I feel like that this kind of reminds me of that in the stagnation, because burning is cleansing, burning is letting go, burning is releasing and letting it go. And there's a lot of release that needs to happen. And then the strength, we need to flip that strength around. And the strength is you controlling your thoughts, you being the master of them. In this strength card, we have a lion and we have this girl here who's riding the lion. The one who is strong here is the girl riding the lion. She's not letting this lion run wild. She did it with love. And she did it very subtly. You don't have to be a bull in a china shop. You don't have to have that kind of energy. It's a very subtle energy, but it's a very strong energy. And it's an energy that can last a really long time when you focus on love and your heart chakra. And I'm really feeling it in my heart right now. Okay, and I feel like this is showing your self-love. This is a lot of self-care here. And that can help you too, because a lot of times this Ten of Swords energy, like we take these wounds. What is there? Eleanor Roosevelt. She has a saying about, and I'm going to paraphrase this here because I don't remember the full saying at the moment, exactly how she said it, but no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. So I feel like the Ten of Swords, this wounded person, like they allowed all of these swords to hit them. They allowed these swords to hurt them. And there's a reason why you would allow that, because you don't fully love yourself. And this is about self-care. And it can start off with little things. Maybe you need a new shampoo. Maybe you need to do your nails. Maybe you need to shave. Whatever that is, whatever self-care looks like for you. And it just makes you feel a little bit better. And then you can start pulling these swords out and go, you know what? I don't deserve that. I don't deserve to feel like this. I don't deserve that person making me feel bad. So remember, it really is a lot of you being in control of something. Interesting. This comes over strength, because strength is related to Leo. This is 8. Leo is in August. It's the 8th month. Confidence is the key to success. New moon in Leo. So new moons are starting off with new intentions, new things. So, and I love that it's Leo the lion. So it's a new intention for strength for yourself. Wow. And then we've got full moon in Virgo. You are good enough. I was talking about self-care. Virgo is very much about self-care and loving yourself. And it's really loving energy. I also was talking about the heart energy. Green is the heart chakra. And loving yourself. I also love how we go from a new moon to a full moon, because that in the moon cycle is bringing in new things, is manifesting new things. It is time for you to shed the past and step forward into your future and bring in new things. And we talked a lot about how you can shed different things. We have our 5-second rule so that we get up. Maybe you're not necessarily motivated to set out here, but it's something very, very necessary to do. A lot of times it's really difficult to find the motivation to move forward, and sometimes you have to do it before you really are motivated. I kind of feel like that with the Two of Wands here too, because the Two of Wands upright would be totally motivated and ready to go on their plan, and it would be really excited about it. I don't feel like you're excited about it. But once you get moving, I feel like you will be. And I feel like it's time to step into your strength and go back to what I was saying from Eleanor Roosevelt is nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. And what's really funny about that is if you think about maybe somebody is talking about you and making you feel bad. There's another saying about like, don't take criticism from anybody that you wouldn't take advice from. Normally it's those people who talk bad about you, who, you know, they don't like your shoes, they don't like your outfit, they don't like your hair, they say whatever about your body, whatever. Would you really take advice from that person? Because the person that you would take advice from would come at it from a constructive and positive way, not negative. And it's a lot. And usually you're like, if you actually think about the situation and a person criticizing you, it's like, wait a second, that person isn't so great. Usually they're lashing out at you because they don't feel good about themselves either. Hurt people. So don't let them hurt you anymore. We're moving on to that. We're being very positive and with our self-care. You are good enough. I love this because I kind of feel with the stagnation that, you know, sometimes it is hard to get out of bed, right? But you're good enough. You're good enough to get out of bed. You're good enough to get out of bed and do some yoga. You're good enough to get out of bed and eat something healthy. Make yourself feel good. You're good enough. The world needs you to feel good. That's another, a lot of times things, you know, the Ten of Swords can talk about things being overwhelming, things coming at you very quickly, very fast. You have a lot of like channels open of energy, of comments, of things talking to you. You need to close some of those channels down. You're not letting them affect you, not letting that communication come in and hit you. And you can't get so upset about a situation that is manipulating you and making you feel bad about yourself because of something happening around the world that you have zero control over. And it's crazy how many channels of information are open that do that. And it reminds me, again, I'm dipping into these sayings here, but there's a reason. Mother Teresa said, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. So even if you're looking at all of this negativity going around, and a lot of times we feel really helpless on like a global scale, on a universal scale, on a scale of like, oh my gosh, who am I? I feel really small here because I feel like when strength is reversed, it is kind of like a small feeling, but you are somebody very, very powerful. And the more love you feel, the more love you generate, the more you love yourself, the more you can love others. And that is what is powerful, and that is what is needed, and that's what we need from you. So off my soapbox here, I just love ending on this note of embracing this strength energy and embracing this love energy and this energy of loving yourself. And that will help you move forward. So love you so much, group 3. I hope that you have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I will see you in the next reading.